wherever you are. Vamogilagila. Welcome to this space with me. I want to thank you very much for joining me. I trust you are well. I am dandy, as you can see. So today we're going to be sprechen. Wir sprechen. We're going to be talking about a few things. But how long is that line? I'm wondering. In past lives, I would suspect artificial insemination. No, not insemination. Artificial help. But in these days, I just rather say, hell to the nay, nay, nay. I resist that devil. I resist you, I say. This is going to be a little live about how Rose resists me. And she continues to think that I'm her enemy, and I'm not. Unfortunately, I know I'm a little bit far too polygamous for Team Rose and Team Resistance. But as I say to her in an email, she is par excellence the numero uno, my very first wife on the YouTube streets, and she will never be resisted by me. Yes. But let's start the show off with my charity that I have found that this is important to me. And I will make a video, an AI video of asking you, my subscribers and those who don't subscribe, to either give a monthly donation or if you're South African, then you can donate and you can write the money off because it is an NGO. It is a registered company and it's mainly sponsored by Americans. Americans and they $50 here and there. So I'm asking maybe people in America or around the world to match my $10. If I can get 1,800 or 2,000, which hopefully will be my subscriber base, 2,000, $10 by the end of this year, that is my goal. So with that being said, let me introduce you to this little place that really helps. And I promise you, in the video, I will show you where you still haven't seen the tragedy in which these people live. Okay? I'm showing you the nice parts right now. In the video and in the next live or so, I will show you why they need your help. This is just Facebook fluff to ask you for your help. So please watch with me. Look at everybody watching right now. How you doing, Wiccan? Thanks for joining, everyone. Here is what we have learned over the years. Donor funding does not create impact. So exactly when does impact happen? Impact happens when funding meets accountability. Southern African partners. Outcomes improve only when support continues. This is why long-term thinking matters. And there is more than we've learned. Sustainable development is built, not rushed. And there is still more that we've learned along the way. Short-term investors often measure activity, not progress. Depth over reach, because lasting change requires both time and initiation. Please subscribe. Building partnerships for social change and development. So, yeah, let us get to the juicy parts of this show, where I say to you, oh, come on, darling, there's something afoot indeed. Let me tell you, I don't know if you know Team Rose or Terry Joyce. And these ladies came to me, or Mississippi too. These ladies came to me via going down a rabbit hole of what to now we call not satanic, what were they called? Super soldiers, yeah? Super soldiers with Max Smith. Max Smith died in 2016, in July. He was murdered. He was beaten to death. It sounded like it. There is a video today where you can go and take a look. You don't see anything, but you can hear where gently he was beaten. And because he was in Poland, his autopsy was, a third world type of situation. But what he was preaching was this cabal of child predators who ran through the judicial systems and the parliamentary systems and the political systems and the policing systems. Everything was joined, and it seemed like a fairy tale when Max Smith was explaining, because he was, of course, a traumatized child that grew up into the system of ritual sexual abuse of young children. And because of his opening up to the world of this and going on tours to Poland, he died. He as far as most of us are concerned, he was sacrificed. Isn't it so funny that we all know Charlie Kirk? He died last year. Isn't it too amusing that the same military officer was involved from Max Smith to Charlie Kirk? Did you know? Did you fucking know? It's mind-blowing. It's not. It brings it all back to the pronouns of a conspiracy theorist is, I told you so. Because it all comes to pass. Here comes up this temple of Set and the Moonies. Have you ever heard of the Moonies? The Moonies are this Christian religion that was set up in Korea, and millions of Koreans follow the sect. And the previous Prime Minister of Japan was assassinated because of this church of the Moonies. Because they believed you must give all your money to the church. And here we have there is a case going on with TP USA where this grandson is opposing the will that was changed 24 days before his grandfather passed away and his caregiver seemed to be part of the Trinity University in America. Now, I don't know if you know the Trinity University of America. The Trinity University of America, the owner, or what do you call it, founder, him and his wife, Falkland. It was the Kirk building that they were going to build, but his wife had an affair with a pool boy at the Fontainebleau Hotel. And this was the right-hand man, Charlie Kirk's pastor, and the numero uno to Trump in the first election. Now in the second election, they keep on saying Charlie Kirk, but no, it was the Falkirk, the Falland. What's his name? Anyway, it's all linked up. Charlie Kirk flew to Japan and Korea the day before he was assassinated. It is all a big cabal, a big, huge web spun by these people who think they rule the world. Well, they rule a lot. They do rule. And it's connected to human sacrifice. And if you don't step in line, you will be sacrificed on TV. I know a few people here on the YouTube streets that maybe want to be sacrificed. I don't know. You know, how long must your line be? Hey, how you doing? Samara channel, bonsoir, wherever you are. Bonsoir, bonsoir, bonsoir. Churches are greedy, in my opinion. Yes, they are greedy. But what's strange is, Wiccan, this is all connected to the same. They're not a real church. The church is the cover. And what's fascinating is they're involved with child orphanages in Romania and Ukraine. And all these churches are dealing with people who suddenly convert from being child molesters to pastors. They become pastors. They become pastors of the church, of the congregation. They get paid to be pastors. When in actual fact, and then what happens is these naval bases, air force bases, army bases around the world that are controlled by the United States of America. And Leni, you know, you're a soldier wife. These bases, they run brothels because you cannot be persecuted. You cannot be if something goes wrong with your subject that you're playing dirty with, and say the subject dies, or the subject I don't know, has huge trauma, you cannot legally, underneath the law, you cannot do anything because it's on the United States military base. And so it's under military law. And so they do what they want, whoever they want, who's flown in from wherever they are, and they run these little brothels of underage people. It is effed up. Around the world, from Germany to Korea to Japan. And this is what we were being told. It's exactly how I know Team Rose. That's exactly how I know Terry Joyce. It's exactly how I know Mississippi Talker, is through this Max Spiers. And he was fighting General Aquino, or Colonel Aquino, who was the head of the Church of Set, a satanic group breakaway from the Church of Satan. And he was in the army. And I'm going to show it to you now. He was in the army who trained these super soldiers to live in a different realm. Max Spiers spoke about traveling to different galaxies, to different planets. He said he was on Mars. He said he was on the moon. Then you go onto Mars, and Mars is a kickoff planet to the next realms. But we are stuck in this realm, thinking in this 3D world, we have obstacles of natural. It's not, nothing is natural. Everything is supernatural. Everything is spiritual. Everything. What you do, you think is only minuscule. No. You change the future with what you do. Let me show you where it was now proven with what's her lovely face? The top of the charts, Candace Owens. Now I have to find it for you where she brings in Aquino, Colonel Aquino, who Max Spiers was, the day he was assassinated, he said, I'm getting strangled. And there was a buzz. He said he believed they could bring a wasp or a dragonfly or a fly, come in and spy on you and see. And you think that's a real fly, but it's, well, maybe it's a fly, maybe it's not a fly. Even if it is a fly, they have gone in to visually look at you through the fly's eyes. Did you know that? And here, and this is the man that trained them, Aquino. I wonder if it's going to be there, because something very strange happened to my tech today. I was in between work and doing my latest videos of the Year of the Horse, and I looked at the laptop, I looked at the screen, and I was watching a video, and all of a sudden the screen went dead. It withdrew, YouTube closed, and the whole screen closed. And I was charging, I was 50% on charge. It was the strangest thing. It's like, oh, there's ghosts here, darling, there's ghosts. So where is her? I think I've gone past her. There.
You know what I was thinking? I think that one of the more compelling questions that was raised with our Becoming Brigitte series was, is it possible for someone to be like, yeah, no, really, all of my friends keep getting trouble for abusing kids, but I swear it's not me, it's just all my friends. I find myself kind of arriving at this same question regarding Turning Point faith. I don't like Turning Point faith. I'm an enemy of Turning Point faith. There, I said it. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't like it at all. These pastors, their backgrounds, finding God, the grift of finding God I'm referring to, becoming very obvious. I'm asking the question, how many connections are too many connections when it comes to activity in the East on military bases? Also, you are going to believe me now, because I'm going to show you this lawsuit that they're going through. It's making its way through the courts anyway. Just allegations, I suppose you could say, but it certainly puts another coin in the Candace was right jar. So let's jump right into it. Welcome back to Candace. Oh, why is this all just feeling so the opposite of godly, almost satanic? Yeah, welcome to politics. And speaking of satanic, and I mean literally, speaking literally of satanic, many of you were emailing us regarding a certain board member at Turning Point USA, right? We kept discussing this element of militant faith. Oh, these pastors happen to be in the military. Oh, it's kind of weird. Background in high-ranking military members. People using Christianity for ultimately what looks like militant aims. Global governance. For whatever reason, when we explore that topic, we also find this recurring theme of sex abuse. It's almost as if all of these satanic things are coming in the name of the Lord. Well, enter this TPUSA board member named Paul Vallely. Paul E. Vallely. I want to look at this guy.
So this is Paul E. Vallely. He's the head of he's the board member, but the guy underneath him is Aquino, and everybody's going to know when they see his face. I will send it now. Let me send it right now. In your DM. There we go.
And he is exactly the kind of board member that I would expect to be involved with Turning Point Faith. By way of background, Paul E. Vallely was a military commander. He was the military commander for none other than the 7th Psychological Operations Group. That's already compelling for me, right? The 7th Psychological Operations Group. There were 6 before it. And what number are we at now? Okay, can we just take a second to appreciate that our military is literally running mind wars? Mind wars. And that's what he did. Our military is engaged in them. That's why I keep telling you, when you're on the internet and you're just being yelled at and...
I hope you're listening to this. I hope you take this. No one is immune. All of us. And this is what's scary. It's bigger than Hunger Games. It's real life killing for blood, for your energy.
They're just trying to break down your brain. They figured that if a bunch of people say something, you'll just follow the lead. That's what these bot farms are all about. I actually kind of subscribe to the dead internet theory, especially when I'm on X. I'm like, this is obviously run by the military. I've never seen the bots say we shouldn't go to war ever. And yet when I speak to people, nobody wants to go to war. So there you go. Anyways, back to Paul Vallely. Vallely did 2...
Isn't that so strange? It's like all of a sudden you get all these people that say you want to go to war on Twitter, but in real life, nobody wants to say we want to go to war. So are those just programmed bots by AI? Filtering, feeding the consciousness of everyone.
Combat tours in Vietnam. He was in Japan, Korea, Iraq, Israel, you name it, all over the place throughout Europe. And while he was serving, he collaborated with a major that was working under him. Okay. This major became his official research and analysis team leader. And his name was Major Michael. Look at those eyebrows.
Major General Aquino.
Unbelievable. Michael Aquino. They hit it off so well, Paul and Michael, so well that in 1980, the two of them decided to...
This man started the Church of Set, and he is an army chaplain. A chaplain is a person in the army or the military that sends you off to war and says that, and gives you you are honored by God. It gives you a free entrance to heaven.
Author a book correctly termed, aptly entitled Mind War. Now, who is Michael Aquino? Because this is, yeah, This is where it gets interesting. Aside from being an intelligence officer and an expert of psychological warfare, just like Vallely, doing this on behalf of our military, he's also an open Satanist. Honestly, I'm starting to think that being an avowed Satanist might be the very reason that he was welcomed into the ranks of our military. And I'm going to tell you his background story. That whole garb that he's wearing, by the way, this is Aleister Crowley. For those of you in the book club, those of you reading, we've been reading Chaos. This is what established Hollywood. You are not imagining it. This is what these.
So you think there's no such thing as magic, but these powerful people practice it. All I'm saying.
People believe in. And in 1969, lo and behold, speaking of the book Chaos, when the military was just spiking the ball, psychological operations, moon landing, whenever you're ready, the Manson murders, whenever you're ready, all military. Anyways, in 1969, this guy Aquino joined the Church of Satan. And in 1969, he then rose through the ranks of that church as the Magister Caverns of a fourth degree within the church hierarchy. He became the editor of the publication The Cloven Hoof, and he sat on the governing council of the Nine. In 1975, he left to form his own satanic church.
He formed his own satanic church because he didn't believe going under Anton LaVey, because Anton LaVey didn't see Satan as God. Anton LaVey saw Satan as not an energy, but not a place or a person, whereas Aquino believes in Satan as a person, like Set.
Because just like other churches break apart, there was a schism. And the schism was because they couldn't establish the doctrine, because the Satanists were saying, like, Satan is an idea. And he was like, no, Satan is literal. And so they had the great satanic schism, you could say. He accuses Anton LaVey, who's the founder of the Church of Satan, of heresy for claiming that Satan was merely a metaphor and not an actual being. So I'm going to now let Michael Aquino, who's head of PSYOPs, along with Pyle Vallely, who's a board member, tell you what the goals were when he established the Temple of Set. Take a listen.
I just want to start out, I think, by clarifying and understanding.
This interviewer is so hot. He's really done some good work. His father was a very good interviewer. And you'll find Aquino quite pleasant here, because very much with the Satanists, they don't appeal to godly or spiritual side of things, but Aquino definitely deals with the psychology and the psyche of things. And that's where because of our psychology theories of, what's his name? Freudian, Freud. Because of Freud, we've been lied to, and we believe, and we are stuck in this Freudian fucking arcade of bullshit. Because the army of the United States knows exactly what's going on, and they use this propaganda. There's a reason for it.
The nature of what it is to be a Setian, obviously slightly different from a Satanist, but obviously you did spend some time with the Church of Satan under LaVey initially, and just to understand what is the mindset, what is the philosophy of a Setian, what is that worldview like?
The Temple of Set was originally thought to take the context of what our original satanic experience had been out of the Judeo-Christian mythology system. And harking back to the original Church of Satan days, we were looking really to find the nature of what is generally called the human soul. In other words, what it is within us that animates us that gives us freedom of decision, of conceptualization, the intellectual life force. The Church of Satan, of course, had a certain social criticism aspect to it, and it also liked to hold Judeo-Christianity's feet to the fire. After 10 years, both of those became sort of played out, and we were looking, as Obi-Wan Kenobi suggested to Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars movie, to take a first step into a larger universe.
And Star Wars was the best example of the beginning of the Antichrist theory, where, well, not the beginning. I mean, there's always been the story of Thor and Odin and Loki, and so on. We even had Enki and Enlil, and so we have Jesus and the Antichrist. But these are phenomenons that these psychological Satanists bank on, that we believe in these theories and theosophies and theosts.
Well, the Temple of Set exists to explore the self, the personality, and we do this through the media of ancient Egyptian religion, which we found to be the most sophisticated. So what you see in the Temple of Set is not anything with an agenda towards good or evil per se, but rather towards understanding consciousness, and once you understand consciousness, to maximize your personal use of it in such a way that you are not the slave to conventions or to...
And so, when you can manage your consciousness, you can fight off all spiritual warfare. And that's what not only the Church of Set or the Church of Satan banks on, it's the church of the military forces, is the army. War is not only composed of shooting bombs and shooting guns and killing people, it is also manipulation of the mind. And once you've manipulated the mind, you can basically unalive someone through the manipulation of mind, through fear. People have died from fear.
Propaganda of any sort, for that matter, so that you are in effect a god yourself, responsible for your own decisions concerning matters of good or evil or morality.
I don't see why he would be disqualified to join the military. I mean, it sounds like he's committed, and yeah, this is what's going on. It's so important for you guys to recognize this, because there's been so much gaslighting. They try to call people crazy, and when they describe these things, they're telling you this is what's going on in Hollywood. And I just hope that as we have been going through these series, and that's why I think it's so important to, rather than keeping up with daily news, be focused, actually, because even that is ADHD. You're distracted, you're talking about a bunch of things. Let's actually stay on one topic and follow it to its end. And every time we do this, we end up here, where it's very obvious, whether we're talking about Becoming Brigitte, we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and now we are talking about Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA and Faith and this guy that's on the board. We always land here, okay? This is not a satanic panic. This is history. What he's referring to, and if you are on my book club, we've spoken about this at length. I keep telling you guys about the Frankists that came, right? The Franklin cover-up that came to America. They say, oh, this was a fringe cult. No. These people have always been in power. They've been backed by the bankers. And what he's referring to, what they follow, is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They've kept this, okay? This is what they follow. Spells, ritual.
Okay, so I'm going to try and see if I haven't looked for this already. I want to see if I can maybe find Max Smith speaking about the exact same thing. Yeah? Imagine that. I can find Max Smith and Aquino. Max Spiers, not Smith. and Aquino. Oh, wow. Talking of the devil, do you know David Scherter? Maybe he can explain this to you. Fracture One. No. The BBC stories. This is how I met Team Rose. My goodness, look at this. This is the choice. I've got David Scherter, Max Smith fractured, BBC 8 years ago, Lord and Arts, Death of Conspiracy, Max Smith Part 3, and then we continue to these evil demons. Oh, Lord, have mercy.
I want to know what happened to my son.
We were being tracked by at least 4 pairs of agents.
Nie mogliśmy m.in. przeprowadzić kluczowych w tego typu przypadkach sekcji zwłok.
You don't just lie on a sofa and die. Something happens.
Let's see.
It's August 1st. This is Dave Scherter. I titled this video, or I am going to title this video the way I am, is because Mike Lucchino knew who I was. I know that without a doubt. For those of you who don't have a clue who Colonel Mike Lucchino was, he was my handler, head of Temple of Set, and was involved with some really bad things.
You're lying.
Brilliant dude, you know.
You're a liar.
Very heavily involved with all this MK Ultra bullshit that was going on, at least at Offutt Air Force Base when I was a kid, and Hummel Park, but other places too, the Presidio.
It's time to talk about the moon cult and about how the CIA purchased Japan, how the CIA built modern Japan.
Conspiracy theories are entering a
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than
I have a problem. I'm going to have to go to Vibe Coders Anonymous here soon. Don't tell anyone about that tool. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. They might get mad. They were looking at this communist threat to the East. And this is where we transition directly from World War II into the Cold War, because all of these people's greatest fear was not Nazis. Half of them were Nazis. Half of them had actually been funding the Nazi Party in America and had tried to do a Nazi coup before the World War II had even started. That's just settled history. Look up the business plot. They weren't worried about Nazis. They were worried about the commies.
So here, Ian Carroll is giving us some more background to how did we arrive here, where these people who go under the cover of Christianity, well, it turns out that even the government in Tokyo, the Japanese government, is led by the CIA. And the people of the world, of the Western way, are under the spell of Christianity, the Christian way, Christ way. But the problem is, the Christian way Christ was to save the children. These people destroy children and steal their body parts and steal their organs and steal their souls by destroying them and, what do you call it, doing bodily harm to children for power.
Okay, and Moonies at the time. Well,
Doesn't he just look like a porn star? He's too cute. And he's changed his looks. He used to have long hair and a goatee, and he's got a girlfriend, hey? He's got a girlfriend. But he was like a yoga teacher. He was like, mate, one of those. But he's now become quite a cool conspiracy channel. Well, I mean, this video's had 126,000 views. He is 500,000 strong. Yeah, 640,000 subscribers. But he didn't always look like this. His hair is gray like mine. That's why I like his mustache. That's sometimes why you see me in a mustache.
the USSR and China. And the CIA went through a lot of years of trying to destabilize the Chinese communist thing that was kind of growing and taking over. They tried to do all sorts of drug smuggling into China to subvert it. They tried to fund opposition parties in China. They tried all sorts of shit directly targeting China. That ultimately failed. But they also quickly zeroed in on Japan as a shield. Japan was quickly identified as a physical barrier between the United States and mainland China to protect the Pacific and to act as a gigantic aircraft carrier for United States military and political supremacy, projecting outwards into Asia. And if you read
Ian Carroll. His name is Ian Carroll, and I think his channel's called Ian Carroll. He has also presented on Candace's show before. But I don't know if you know, at the moment, all the right-wingers are busy eating each other up online because of Candace Owens. Candace Owens saying, who the fuck cares about the next midterms and votes? These people are dying. These people died. This is a conspiracy. This is a worldwide thing. And we got it to the top of this.
If you read CIA history about this era, it's pretty wild. Quote, Chapter 12, we ran it in a different way. One weapon the CIA used with surpassing skill was cash. The agency excelled at buying the services of foreign politicians. The first place it picked the future leader of a world power was Japan. And before I read to you about Kishi, maybe we should dive into our documents a little bit about the Liberal Democratic Party and our story of Sun Myung Moon. What you're struck with, what I'm struck with, all throughout the story, is this sense that this guy is a facade. This guy is an Epstein. This guy is a construct of something much darker and much more sinister behind him. Because there's no way that this guy is making all this money. He's losing all this money. There's no way that this guy has this, there's no way that they're actually getting all this money from fundraising and convincing people to do this shit. That's not what this money is coming from. This money is obviously coming out of some deep, dark pit back over in the East, and he is just the conduit for it. Maybe just one of the conduits for it. And when you start to look at the story that way, and you start to look at where that money flowed out to, like Liberty University, for example, like the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, for example, like a whole bunch of politicians in America, for example, it starts to become more and more obvious what's really going on here. So, I didn't want to move that, bro. So we'll leave the prison for a minute, and we'll leave the deep, dark documents of the Five Star Trust for a minute. But we'll pop up here to the main story, and we'll just zero in on the Japan part. because a lot of this stuff is publicly available info. And you can piece it together pretty completely from the public info. You can very clearly see what's going on here. But there's a piece in this FBI document that is just too good to not share. But it needs a little bit of context. This document always needs some context. And just so you guys know what the display is here, this is web, and I built in my own special features that are half.
Okay, so if you're just coming on now, this is Ian Carroll, spelled I-A-N, Carroll. He is one of the right-wingers that is speaking about the Charlie Kirk assassination story. He has been a presenter on Candace Owens. Candace Owens today brought up the name Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino was the main perpetrator, the Silence of the Lambs of Max Spiers. And he came up in this story. It only shows you that Erica Kirk, and it's not like she's not, it's known. Erica Kirk's mother works for a company that supplies the United States military. She is in an EMP military advert. She did it as a, I will show it to you after this. Well, she did it as a job. She was in an EMP ad. And what did Donald Trump use to extract Maduro from Venezuela? But an EMP, an electrical magnetical device, whatever they're called.
But they're never really done. So that I can view them in more useful formats. So this is what the original document set looks like, and they are on archive.org, and I found them there originally, and I've uploaded them there myself since then. And if I think of it, I'll try to put a link. If this ever gets posted on YouTube, I'm sure it will. I'll put a link in the YouTube description. I'm pretty sure it's Ted Kennedy FBI files is how you would find these. And there's 22 pages, and they look like this, and they're typewritten, and the highlighting and underlining is my handwriting over top of printed versions of it, because when I first found it, they were out of order. All the pages were out of order, and I had to reorder them, and so that's my handwriting in the top for the page numbers as well. Getting them all in order and trying to collage them of like, this part is obviously that part. And when I first found these documents, the most important caveat that we're going to work through here together is, how do you know they're real? Because these documents tell some crazy stories. These documents are super weird, okay? And it's because they are built in narrative form. These documents they're all one report that was apparently written to Senator Ed Kennedy, better known as Ted Kennedy, for his eyes only. Dear Senator. And it's apparently a memorandum, a summary of an entire narrative of everything that his buddy at FBI, that he knew from his school days, everything that guy was able to dig up about this one secret agent named Major General Robert L. Ferreira. And some of this you get from piecing it together from parts of it that are in this book. Some of it you get from piecing together in this larger document cache that came about as a result of this. It's all very convoluted, and I'll do a whole long episode digging the whole story apart. For now, suffice it to say that you should not treat these documents as though they're 100% legit. I don't treat these documents as though they're 100% legit, because they were never officially released. They were leaked, okay? And there is a possibility that they're fake. But I have been investigating these files for 3 years, trying to find any evidence of them being fake, and I repeatedly just find more corroboration that what they're talking about seems to be real. Okay?
Okay. So let me show you where Erica Kirk, firstly, was in an MK Ultra video. I think it was a John Dory. What's his name? Dory. No, it was Coach. What was his name, Coach? It is Coach Colin, but not that video.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. Yes, I saw the live stream. Yes, it is wild. And yes, it does make Turning Point. What are you supposed to say? What are we supposed to say about Turning Point?
There we go.
Doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle. There it is. Whoop. Let's get it.
Alleges that thereafter, Mitch Manley Sr. isolated his declining grandfather from his friends, from his family, and he seized control of his finances.
I'm trying to look for that video where I don't think it was in the story.
Faith, by way of background, Paul E. Vallely was a military commander. He was the military commander for none other than the 7th Psychological Operations Group. That's already compelling for me, right? The 7th Psychological Operations Group. There were 6 before it. And what number are we at now? Okay, can we just take a second to appreciate that our military is literally running mind wars? Mind wars. And that's what he did. Our military is engaged in them. That's why I keep telling you, when you're on the internet and you're just being yelled at and they're just trying to break down your brain, they figured that if a bunch of people say something, you'll just follow the lead. That's what these bot farms are all about. I actually kind of subscribe to the dead internet theory, especially when I'm on X. I'm like, this is just obviously run by the military. I've never seen the bots say we shouldn't go to war ever. And yet when I speak to people, nobody wants to go to war. So there you go. Anyways, back to Paul Valley.
That was actually really funny. So anyways, back to now. Here's 2 things that she brought up that are very interesting. Okay. So first off, Paul he's not on the board of Turning Point Faith. He's on the board of Turning Point Soul. But you've also
This is from
CIA
Redacted.
operatives grabbed Maduro and Celia Flores and then flew them out. Reuters also frames this as like a strategic message, especially to China and Russia, which supplied air defenses. They were quickly disabled in the opening moments, offline. Now, here's where it gets pretty freaky, and I'm sure many of you have seen the transcript that's now been circulating from a Venezuelan security guard loyal to Maduro. In fact, White House press spokesman Carolyn Levitt even retweeted it. So it got a lot more coverage, basically confirming that, yet, this is true. The story he tells lines up with what a modern electronic warfare and directed energy weapons can do, and this admission by him spooked a lot of people. And by the way, I should point out that the technology that was used is decades old. The stuff that we have now.
Oh, shit. Oh, come on, man.
Control of his finances. Now, I should now tell you that Mitch Manley's son, so Mitch Manley's the caretaker, his son is Mitch Manley Jr., who was working for Turning Point USA at this time. He's actually working on Charlie Kirk's show. His dad's taking care of this old man who's in cognitive decline. And here we go. The son is working for Turning Point USA. And would you believe it, lo and behold, when the elderly man died less than 3 years later, at the age of 95, the family discovered that he had changed his will. He changed his will in November of 2023. So for clarity, just 4 months before this man died at the age of 95, he moved to change his will. You'll never guess who he decided to leave his estate to. The estate, which was valued at $25 million. He left it, split it, amongst Turning Point Action, headed up by none other than Tyler Boyer, Ta-da! And yeah. What can I say, you guys? Brenda.
That is weird. That is very weird. Now, I couldn't find anything on this lawsuit, but I did see that in the corner she had something that said Arizona Right Watch. Let's just put Turning Point lawsuit. 25 million. That's very odd. The first question that comes to mind when it comes to this whole thing is, did Charlie know? See, it's coming up with nothing. What do you mean? Show me Arizona Right Watch. Show me the website. You're not even going to show me the website. This is ridiculous. Hold on a second. You have to show me the website. AI is so co-opted, you know? Won't do anything for you. It's ridiculous. Won't even show. Oh, there it is. Boom. That's a Substack. Come on. Either way, I couldn't find much on that lawsuit. Maybe there's a little something there. But the question that really pops up in my mind is, did Charlie know? Did Charlie know about things like this? Right? Because we are all falling victim to exactly what, and you guys know the project I'm talking about when I say often, we're falling into exactly what it does, which is create circumstances that are pretty much untouchable. They create these figures who are almost like, I don't know, deities, you know? Like what they're building Erica into. You can't question her. She's grieving. She's fantastic. And yes, of course, I would consider her for vice president. And oh my gosh, anybody questioning her is like, you know what I mean? They build people into these untouchable things. They were doing the same thing with Charlie. But the thing is, Charlie was a man. He was a regular man. He was
At the age of 95, the family discovered that he had changed.
Yeah, I know that I started this video off, kind of happy-go-lucky.
Though, but the panic. This news from multiple sources, and we can tell you is that this isn't new technology, and the United States has used it on multiple previous occasions that have gone unreported. More on that part of the story in a second. But first, what happened last week? Because even if you think you're pro this raid or anti this raid against Maduro, it doesn't matter. You should still be asking, what in the world did the United States actually deploy in Caracas on January 3rd, 2026? And what is it, and how did it work exactly? First, this was Operation Absolute Resolve, part of a larger Caribbean campaign. And the U.S. used roughly 150 aircraft in strikes around Caracas before Delta Force and CIA operatives grabbed Maduro and Celia Flores and then flew them out. Reuters also frames this as like a strategic message, especially to China and Russia, which supplied air defenses. They were quickly disabled in the opening moments, offline. Now, here's where it gets pretty freaky, and I'm sure many of you have seen the transcript that's now been circulating from a Venezuelan security guard loyal to Maduro. In fact, White House press spokesman Carolyn Levitt even retweeted it. So it got a lot more coverage, basically confirming that, yet, this is true. The story he tells lines up with what a modern electronic warfare and directed energy weapons can do, and this admission by him spooked a lot of people. And by the way, I should point out that the technology that was used is decades old. The stuff that we have now, just mind-blowing. Stuff that they're working on now that makes this eyes go blind, and then the bodies just fall down in a heap, basically. Nose pouring blood out. Your head feels like it's going to explode. Totally helpless. So what are we really talking about here when we say directed energy? Well, a bunch of people online are kind of mashing three different things together. First, electronic warfare means attacking the spectrum. That means you don't need to blow up a radar if you can just jam it, if you can just spoof it, if you can just overload it, or cut the network. It depends on, totally. So it's just sitting there stupid. It can't do anything. The Economic Times describes something it calls the Wraith as an electronic warfare umbrella used in the Maduro capture, creating a digital blackout that paralyzed security infrastructure.
MJD!
Now,
You
important
just
to note, there's
arrived,
also some
baby.
confusion around that name as well, because the defense company CX2 also markets a product called Wraith, and they describe it as an autonomous.
So I'm ending the show. I'm going to give it a little roundup. I did a whole roundup of how we've all come to the same circle of Michael Aquino from Max Smith. I'm sure you've heard of Max Spiers from Team Rose, from Terry Joyce. He was a conspiracy experiencer. He was a super soldier, and he died. They killed him. And he kept on speaking of Michael Aquino. And now Aquino's name has been brought up in the Charlie Kirk conspiracy and death. So, but besides that, I want to rather bring to you a very special cause that I want you to join with me. If you can match my donation to this organization, this will be my gift for the next year, and I want you to join me. I want 2,000. No, 2,000. Yeah, 1,800. I have 1,800 subscribers. So I want 1,000. Maybe by the end of this year, I'll have 2,000 subscribers. And I want you to match my donation of $10. As you can see, I paid $10 to this organization on the 10th of January, and I will show you who they are. Yes, they're a team that work in a very low income area next to a high income area, and they're not supported. You know, this is about support, outside support. I sent. You know, you got the school, and then the children don't have parents that went to school. Yeah. And so you need people that have done it before. Lessons learned. Here is what we have learned over the years. Donor funding alone does not create impact. So exactly when does impact happen? Impact happens when funding meets accountability. Outcomes prove only when support is continued, not transported. This is why long-term thinking matters. And there is more than we've learned. Sustainable development is built, not rushed. And there is still more that we've learned along the way. Short-term investments often measure activity, not progress. Depth over reach, because lasting change requires both time and intention. South African partners, building partnership for social change and development. SNAPSA. You can join me as well. So, oopsie daisy. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this little live. I trust you are well. I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking. Good seeing you here, MJD. I need to make Gmail has actually offered me a Gemini video to make. I have to create the video. I want everybody who knows me to either donate $10 or whatever they can, and maybe they can do a reoccurring, because these children do live in squalor. It might look nice, the video that you're looking at now, and that's why I have to do another live to show you how these people live. You'll be surprised. This is below level living, and to get a senior certificate at school through that, you need some encouragement and some help. And that's where these people come in. They supply the encouragement, help in the language, in the culture of the people that they believe. And it's not an organization that just poof out of nowhere. This was an organization that was part of the US aid, US aid that Donald Trump canceled. So this organization was involved with the prisons, and it was dying down, so it was ending. And it was about to end on the 31st of January last year. But unfortunately, Donald Trump ended the aid completely and made everything null and void. And this friend of mine, who's the head in this, lost his entire pension because of Donald Trump's decision. But he's continuing with this passion of helping young people, and especially girls and mothers, because we know that young girls become young mothers and they still need to continue their education. And this is for free. And this is sponsored by a lot of Americans from Boston, especially East Coast Americans, big money for us. It's not big money from America. It's just little bit money. And that's why your little bit of few dollars that can help. And I paid my $10. I hope you can too in the future. This is my warm-up, baby. I'm practicing on what I need to preach for the future. And I want to thank you very, very much for joining me and being part of this growth on my channel, and for the new years to come, where we can raise some money for children that are in need. Yes, that's what we can do. Bless you. And when you help, when you open that conduit of help, I'm going to show you. That's the other thing I want to show you, is spirituality through your giving. Because I know I have a few fellas, old men, black men, that I help when I can. And I know when I help them, then things start to change in my life, financially. It's all talking about financial conduit of giving and receiving. And so when you give, when you find a good place to give, where you can give your heart as well, you will receive 10 times more. This is my goal. Not just to get the $10 from you, but for you to report and take a screenshot, a receipt of that $10 you gave, and a week later or 2 weeks later, some miracle happens in your life. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Hit that little bell, because you know what? An angel might get his wings. His wings, notice that. Become the light at the end of my tunnel by hitting the little bell after you subscribed. I thank you very much for all the new subscribers and for your likes and your shares, of course, because you really, really care. Ciao for now. Salani gachle. Ek is lief vir jou. Ek liebe dich. Siyabonga, rialabonga, ngiyabonga, hambagachle, salagachle, tjus, sayonara, au revoir, tot ziens. Ek is lief vir jou. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Ha, ha, ek is lief vir jou. Tjus, arrivederci. Sláinte. Sláinte, Ireland, sláinte. Obrigado.